Hello class, Mr. Craig here. We are working on the Labyrinth puzzle box. This was an instructable that I found online that originally was done by a Mr. M. Kurtz on December 28th, 2020. And it was originally done for Fusion 360. And I contacted him. I was like, do you have this for Inventor? He did not. So I recreated basically each step for you. And that is what we're going to work on. When we are done, we're going to have these really cool things. Our project intent is to create 2 cylinders that will go to a 3D printer. The inside cylinder will have a 3D maze on it. The outside cylinder is going to be basically an open cylinder with a cap and a pin inside there that will be guided through the maze. Now here's the really interesting thing. We have done projects where we've worked on in 3-dimensional, but we haven't wrapped around a cylinder or something like that yet. And we have a couple neat little tools that we're going to use to do this. So with that said, let's get started. I'm going to go ahead, and I have found with this one, typically I do like to design out of assemblies, but for this I'm going to design out of a part. So I'm going to come up here to New, and for the part here, I want you to create the part as a metric part. All the instructions are in metrics that I've done. I have worked these numbers. They do all work. If you want to scale this thing up or down, that can be done, but I do know the numbers that we have in the assignment will work. So go ahead and grab a standard millimeter part and create. And as always, the first thing we're going to do is save this thing. Remember to save, and when you think you need to save, save. If you've forgotten to save, save. And hey, why not just go ahead and save while you're at it? So I'm going to go ahead and do a save. It's going to ask me for my name. I'm inside of a project right now. That's why it brought me originally to here. So I'm going to call this one with my last name, Craig dash. This will be my maze cylinder. Cylinder. Maze cylinder. There we go. My other cylinder will be my outer cylinder probably. But here we go. We are now into this part where I like to do, this is probably redundant, I get it, but I like to go ahead and just get rid of the sketch that's already in there. That way I am starting from exactly where I know I need to be. So create a sketch. We're going to do this one on the X plane. You can do other planes, it's really up to you, but our instructions go off the XY plane. So if you want to follow along with me, do the XY plane. Now, what we're going to do, first thing we're going to do is we're going to create the shape of this inner cylinder. So we're going to create a circle. We're going to base this right off of the origin point. Remember, origin point, where my 2 planes intersect, right there. That is my origin point. Inventor, remember, has a little yellow dot there to begin with to kind of give you a reference. When I snap on top of it, it turns green. So very good, I'm happy. Again, this can be scaled, but for what I'm doing, I'm going to do 25 millimeters. 25 millimeters. Center, and there we go. I have a circle, and right now I'm fully constrained because it's constrained to this origin point. Now, to make this cylinder and to be able to write on top of it, what we're going to end up doing is we're going to unfold this thing, make it flat, work on it, and then roll it back together. So with that said, what we need to do is go ahead and break this circle that we did. Easiest way to do that, let's go ahead and create construction lines. And then I'm going to grab a line, come right up this y-axis, and just draw a perpendicular line that goes right through it. There you go, make it a little easier for you to see. So I now have this perpendicular line that's going right through it. There. Now I'm going to offset this thing. So I'm going to grab the line, I'm going to offset this thing by 1 millimeter. 1 millimeter, oops, 1 millimeter, and enter. But I do have these 2 construction lines in here. Why am I offsetting it? Because I need to break this away. So now I can just trim right in between the 2 construction lines, and I'm good. I like this sketch. It has what I need to it. So I think this will work. Go ahead and finish the sketch. And we're going to name the sketch. This will be, we'll call this one cylinder uh, first sketch. There we go. I do like to name everything over here in the browser. It makes going back and working on it so much easier. All right, so with that said, we are now going to go into a really, really cool tool that Inventor has into it. And that is this convert to sheet metal. Once we've converted this thing to sheet metal, we can start working this thing. We can bend it around and all sorts of fun stuff. So go ahead, click on convert to sheet metal. And now that we are here, we're going to select contour flange. It's right here in the create. We're going to create a flange. And the neat thing is it remembered the face that we're the edge that we were already working on. So we're good there. If not, then go ahead and just click on the line. And our distance for this assignment, I'm going to do this one at 110 millimeters. Very good. I have I'm extruding out. I'm going to just follow the defaults because we're going to set some defaults or override them a little bit later. So we're good there. So I'm going to say okay. And there we go. We now have this neat little tube. So at this point, let's go ahead and change those defaults I was just mentioning. So come over here to sheet metal defaults. For our sheet metal rule, we're going to stay with the defaults, fine. But we're going to override the thickness from rule. We're just going to go ahead and override that. And this again comes into our design intent. Our design intent is to go with 3D printing. We want these walls to be 4 millimeters thick so that we can put a 3 millimeter groove into this and not punch all the way through. So for my thickness, 4 millimeters. I can leave my material set, leave my fold rule set. So I'm happy with this. Apply, and check that out. It just got thicker. Very good. All right. So now, one of the neat things we're going to need to do also is to flatten this thing out and or unfold it, and then fold it back together. We need to have a reference, something stationary. And to do that, we're going to make a small extrusion in this 1 millimeter gap that we put in. So let's go ahead and start a sketch, 2D sketch. And we're going to do it right there on that plane right there. You see it light up? Let's go ahead and right there on that face. There it is. Face is lit up. We're going to click it. Since I am projecting my geometry, I can see it's already lit up. I'm good with that. So let's go ahead and get the extrusion. We're going to go ahead and go to 3D model, extrude, and I want to extrude that face right there. Very cool. It grabbed our sketch. Has our profile, our distance for this. We went ahead and did a 1 millimeter cut in here. So what we want to do is just kind of span part of this. So let's go with a 0.5 millimeter or 0.5 millimeters. We're going to leave our Boolean for output to join. We're good here. And we say OK. And we can see it made up part of the distance. Bring this around so you can see it a little bit better. Here you go. So there is that extrusion. Excuse me. I'm going to rename this one cylinder reference extrusion. So this becomes a reference point for us. Now, we have this thing. It is sheet metal. We have completely set this part up. I think we're good to go to the next step. Looks good to me. All right, so at this point, we need to go ahead and unroll our cylinder. Flatten this thing out. This will allow us to go ahead and put our maze in here after a couple more steps. So we're in the sheet metal tab. Let's go to unfold. My stationary reference is this plane that we did right here. We want the top of it though. For our bends, which is the second part, we're going to grab the outside of the cylinder. And if you look at it, Inventor right now is showing us that this is what it's going to do. It's going to unfold it just like that. This is exactly what I want. So I can hit apply. It looks good. If you weren't seeing it, you do have the preview here. Make sure you get the right parts. So with that said, go ahead and get out of this tool. I have my unfold. Now, once I've unfolded this, I now need to do something that's not going to make a ton of sense at the moment, but we need to do this at this point now. We've unfolded it. We need to go ahead and refold it. Yes, we've not done anything to the outside. I understand that. But we still need to go ahead and refold it and work backwards then in time. You'll see what I mean. So we're going to go with refold. Our stationary reference we still have as the top. Our bends will be the top of the outside of the cylinder. You can see this is a preview of it going back together. We hit apply, looks good, and cancel. Now we're going to do one more thing before we make some serious magic happen here. And that is we're going to close up this gap right here. So to do that, we're going to come back over to 3D model. There's a ton of ways to do this, there really is. But the one we're going to use is loft. So I'm going to loft. I'm going to grab the front profile of the inside of that extrusion that we did. And then see if I can do this so it doesn't pop off the screen. There we go. I'm going to grab the end of the cylinder so that the two faces that are mirroring each other. Now that I have both my edges, so go ahead. Oops, I do not want this edge. Let's delete that one. There we go. So I have my two edges. I was trying to move it around. It didn't like that. I'm going to say OK. And we can see it has now closed up gap with the loop. There's a little easier way to see it. There is the loft. We're good to go. We now have our cylinder. Now here's something really, really cool. As I said, we're going to work a little bit backwards in time. Over here in the browser, see our end of folder. Take this and move it all the way up between the unfold and the refold. We're now back here to where we have unfolded the cylinder. From here, we will go into setting up the maze itself. But this is the end of this first video, so I don't make these things super long. At this point, we have created our cylinder file. We have the inside cylinder file for the maze. We have made the cylinder itself, not including the end cap. And we've made this into a sheet metal part so we can unfold it and refold it. And we have the loft to close up that gap. That's where we're at right now. Catch me in my next video where we start to actually put the maze on here.